I said, how many teams have 3 defensemen as good as Nurse, Wallman, and Bouchard? And I found that pretty much all of them do. So that was a little disappointing. Teams have been resting players so much. Edmonton, certainly with Draisaitl and McDavid, were so careful and holding them out for so long that I'm like, yeah, I get it, but you're kind of playing with fire, keeping these guys. Like, don't you want to like have a little momentum? Don't you want to get these guys back in the lineup? So Friday, they said, you're right, Dave. Mattias Ekholm, we'll put him back in. And he fell down twice on his own. And then we got this from Ryan Rishaug on Saturday, which is tough news for Oilers and Ekholm, hearing there are further tests to be done, but it's believed to be a serious injury that worst case scenario may end his season. Best case scenario will keep him sidelined for quite some time. I always say this with reporters like Ryan Rishaug. This is not needed because Ryan is so good and plugged in. I've heard similar things. It's not good. Mattias Ekholm, the Oilers' number 1 defenseman, who was not having a good season, and who clearly was off for a while, probably should not have played in 4 Nations, but as we discussed at the time, like, you have a tough time telling players you don't get to do that if that's a thing that they dream about, especially European players, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the situation. I don't need to remind people of this because if I want to cope, I can gloss over this. Who did I think was the Oilers' second most indispensable player last postseason? I remember I said, idiots who are targeting McDavid, what are you doing? You're going to get caught. You're going to get suspended. Don't target McDavid. Don't target Draisaitl. Target Mattias Ekholm because you take him out, bye-bye. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought of last year's Oilers team. Yeah. So
I would argue he is not their best defenseman, but he is their most important defenseman.
I would still agree with that, although as we get into some light coping, Darnell Nurse is not 2024 Darnell Nurse. He's 2025 Darnell Nurse and has been having a hell of a season. So, first off, I guess let's just ask, do we think this means toast time for the Oilers? My quick answer is not immediately, but I think eventually. Sean?
I probably would have picked them to lose the first round anyways.
Okay.
So, sure, I'll say it's toast time, but I think it already was.
I don't think it's... I'm more on your side here with the way that you view it because, like, he hasn't been good this year. But I also think that, like, you were holding on to hope that he would become good because you need him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I do think that the road is infinitely harder now.
Totally. And if I'll say this, and maybe famous last words, if somebody were to tell me you can lock in Mattias Ekholm healthy for the rest of the playoffs beginning in the second round and you do not have him for 1 second in the first round, like healthy, good, what he was last year, I grimace and I say, yeah, fine, because I think that it's just going to be too tough to win the second, third cup final without him. It is going to be very hard to win the first round without him. My money would still be on the Oilers against the Kings in the first round, but I did say last week, I'm not getting caught doing they're playing fourth time in a row. They're just going to walk all over them. I think this is going to be maybe the hardest of all these meetings.
Definitely.
And I do need to note in the Kings' defense, because before I really get into the coping, this has not yet been coping. I've been saying nice things about the Kings. No, I mean, I've been saying like the Kings can beat them, etc. What I think people are sleeping on, the Kings are awesome at home.
They've been awesome, period, since the Four Nations break.
They've been very good since the Four Nations break. They've been like, top half in the league they've been everything.
Top 5 in basically everything.
No, they haven't.
Well, they got the best goal share in the league since Four Nations.
Right. But it's been because of goals against.
Right, but they are scoring.
Yes.
Their scoring has had an uptick since Four Nations.
Okay, we'll have to check.
They're probably not top 5 in offense, but like they're a top 5 overall team since Four Nations.
So they've been very good and they're great at home. So you give them that. And I do like their forward depth. the coping. I went through, they do not have, the Oilers do not have Mattias Ekholm, possibly. And we don't know. He's getting a second opinion. But their top 3 defensemen, Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard, and Jake Wallman, I went through all the playoff teams and said, okay, yeah, they are screwed depth-wise. Mm-hmm. Although Brett Kulak has had a good season. And I do like Ty Emberson. Really what I'm worried about is who's that other person going to be? Is it going to be Troy Stetcher? I'm not crazy about that. But I went through the other playoff teams, and I said, how many teams have 3 defensemen as good as Nurse, Wallman, and Bouchard? And I found that pretty much all of them do. So that was a little disappointing.
I was wondering where
that was the beginning
going.
of my coping experience. Okay. I was like, well, if we take it away, like, and just make it 3, but
I thought you were just going to have like the most fucking delusional take that I've ever heard of.
What, that those 3 defensemen are better than any other team's top 3? No, like, I mean, they're definitely better than some top 3s, but then the teams that they're better than have more depth.
Yeah.
Like, but forward depth, going to be unbelievable if everybody's healthy.
Right. I mean, that's a big if, though. Like, you were talking about, like, they haven't answered many questions before the playoffs. That's my big thing, is that, like, they could go on a run. They could be awesome, but we haven't fucking seen it. And I also think that, like, a point that you didn't bring up with the Ekholm thing, what is going on with their, like, medical staff? How many guys have come back and immediately gotten out of the lineup again?
Draisaitl, Ekholm,
Frederick,
yeah, true.
A lot of guys have been returned and then immediately been out again.
Maybe they're reading the Minnesota Wild book of how to treat your players. But I guess I'm building to the one thing that really makes me most optimistic, but I'll just speed through some of these things. Connor McDavid has been the best player in the world since returning from injury, which he's always supposed to be the best player in the world, but it is literally what's that?
Hasn't been
not having his best season, and it has taken him no time to come back and be the best. 9 points in his last 3 games. Playing on a line with Jeff Skinner and Connor Brown, which is awesome, should be their first line in the playoffs. That lets them do so much stuff and be way deeper than the Kings. So that's a feather in their cap.
I mean, like, part of the coping being you want Connor Brown on your first. Like, I get it, but think about that sentence and how insane it would have sounded like a couple months ago.
Correct. Jeff Skinner, I think, has 17 goals, and Connor Brown has 13 goals. But what else do we have? Stu Skinner has a chance to do the funniest thing. Let's not rule that out.
I can't rule anything out with Stu Skinner.
And do you know who has the second best penalty kill in the NHL the last month?
Going off month samples.
You were just doing that with the Kings.
No, that's 4 Nations.
Yeah, but you were also lying about with the stats.
I wasn't lying. I was fudging the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, you got to goose them a little bit. But penalty kill being awesome is back, and that's been without Mattias Ekholm. Okay. So the coping thing, in summary, is they can win the way that they won last year in the playoffs, and Connor McDavid is amazing. So I still think they can win a round against the Kings, and once they win a round against the Kings, you don't do the... Well, okay, now it's time for them to lose. We've seen teams get to the Stanley Cup final. Like 2013 Bruins, we were talking ourselves into, they're going to win the Stanley Cup because they just allowed 2 goals in a series. Mm-hmm. But it's like you're playing the Blackhawks. They're going to absolutely run you over. So you never know. I'm not optimistic, but I think that there is reason for optimism. And I definitely think that I'm not counting them out. I expect them to beat the Kings. Will not be surprised if they lose to the Kings, but
I just feel like this has curse season written all over it.
Fair. Them and the Stars, I think you can do is their destiny? Is it their fate to lose in the first round?
But the Stars, though, like you have Heiskanen coming back. Like they have the opportunity to get stronger as the playoffs go along. I don't know if that exists with the Oilers. Like, you can maybe get right with some of the guys that are hurting now, but like you're probably not getting Ekholm back.
I would think no. And if you do, let's assume it's a groin injury. How effective is he going to be? Because he hasn't been very effective this year. He hasn't been terrible. There have been games where he's been terrible. I think mostly what they're going to be missing with him is just like another adult defenseman. Because if you said, okay, your top four is some combination of Wallman, Nurse, Bouchard, and a banged up Ekholm, I'm like, great. Okay, awesome, fantastic. Because Wallman has been really, really good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But every team at some point is going to have to learn to cope and wonder if their team is cursed. Right now, it's the Edmonton Oilers' time to wonder that.
I think that this is their chances may live and die by who Evan Bouchard is in the playoffs.
Oh, I mean, I could have done a much longer version of this, and quite frankly, I don't want to. But like Jake Wallman, you want to make a shitload of money on your next contract? If you become that guy that everyone's like, last year was Miro Heiskanen, where everyone's like, oh, you know what? We are now sure this guy rocks. And it's like, you weren't sure this guy rocks? Okay. But if he becomes that player and is like a true number one defenseman in the postseason, then you get $1 bajillion forever, my guy.
I mean, you can say the same thing about Evan Bouchard too. Like Bouchard is just such a liability sometimes. If he is not that in the playoffs, they have so much better of a chance. But he can come away looking like the biggest asshole and be the reason that they're out too.
We all silly like the mayor.